What is the meaning for success for you? I mean, for a lot of people, it means big cars, big money, big houses. But that hasn't really been my montage. That hasn't really been the way I see success. I mean, sure, when I was younger and early on, you don't know what you don't know. And you also don't know what you really need or really want. And quite often we start out in life, following the rules and believing that what everybody tells us what success actually looks like. And well, I'm not complaining. We've done okay. We've got a house and a car and all these fun things, but I've never really gauged success on the size of house. I mean, you look at that guy over there, he's got the biggest house on the block over there. Some might argue and say, well, he's more successful than me because his house is bigger than mine. Well, a lot of people, that's how they see it these days. You know what? Working in the job that I've worked 9 to 5, the corporate game, year in, year out, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. For what? Just to keep piling up and working on saving and putting money away just so you can upgrade, buy another car, build a bigger house. And for a lot of people, that feels like success. I worked with a lot of people at the organization that I came from that measure success by their title. They think they have a title that works up the org chart that feels like it's higher up the food chain. They feel like that's success. Meantime, while they're sitting back, they're casually talking themselves into a lather, believing that what they're saying is massively and extremely important. The vast majority, when you read the room, you see people are rolling their eyes thinking, oh, do we have to listen to this guy again? Because most of those people, they feel that they've actually made something out of themselves. They truly believe that they've hit a level of success that is better than somebody below them in the org chart. Well, for me, it really doesn't matter. I've never saw it that way. I've always looked at it more about, why did I join this type of work in the first place? The technical aspects. I like electrical. I mean, whatever you do, whether you're accounting, whether you're a numbers person, you join that type of work probably because you had a bit of an affinity. And if you enjoyed your work and you worked a fruitful career that allowed you to live and exploit and meet people and do some of the things that you wanted to do, that's a level of success. Now, is it your ultimate success? Some people think, you know what? I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket. And this lottery ticket hopefully will get me that $25 million. The big lotto, it's drawing this week. But you know what? They say the vast majority of people who win the lottery are broke in 2 years. Why is that? Well, because they don't really know how to spend it. That's one thing. But see, that's the thing. That's not really success, having money. Because it's not about the destination. It truly is about the journey. And for me, success isn't about the ultimate, having that $25 million. It's how did I gain that $25 million? If I dropped down a $2 bill and I wound up getting a lottery ticket and they drew my numbers and I win, sure, that would feel good. Dopamine hit kicks in real quick. But that really isn't success, because how did you get it? It was a quick, easy come, easy go. But, as a lot of people believe, they have their own ideas of success. I have a level of success that I truly believe isn't really about being that top level player in the organization or winning that lottery ticket. And for a moment, just a moment in time, having that $25 million in your bank account. It's something I like to call YOLO. Yes, ever heard of that? You only live once. And if there's one thing that hasn't changed in my life, I've lived my life. I've lived a life of enjoying life to the fullest. I'm not that person that spent afternoons and days and weeks in front of a computer playing video games. I'm not that person watching TV, wasting my days away. Somebody asked me, hey, have you seen this latest episode of such and such? I'll be like, what's that? No, I haven't heard of that one. Some might call me disconnected from reality. I call me living life. Because while they're burning off hours and hours watching that new mini-series and pissing their life away, I, in fact, am out doing something. I'm building something. I'm fixing something. I'm getting exercise. I'm exploring. Because I think back many years ago, this is way back before even having a strategy of what life actually meant and how I need to get to where I need to go by getting a certain career, following that path, earning a certain dollar and building a certain house, building a family and a life. The life, the wife, the kids, that's all been absolutely amazing. But all of the other things on the peripheral friends that come and go like a transient wind, a car that you think about, what was your first car? I've had like 30 or 40 cars in my life. Clearly, I like cars, but I like to flip them and make them disappear just as fast as I buy them. Because it's all about the experience. It's not the end goal. It's not about, hey, I finally achieved this new 7 Series BMW. I've made it. No, it's about exploring. And my life has really largely been based on exploration, exploring what life has to offer. I mean, I look around here. Every single day I'm out walking. And by the way, welcome back to the hustle and welcome back to the grind, everybody. Let's just break right into it. See, because my life has been relatively long. I mean, I'm turning 55 here right away. And I couldn't even imagine if I was born in a way that I wasn't able to, maybe physically unable to explore and do the things that I've really enjoyed doing through my life, because I feel like that is a big part of who I am. And I've loved living that life, exploring. For example, I'll give you another example. Years ago, I never rode a motorbike. I wasn't the person that was taking formal training, and, nobody taught me how to do it. I grabbed a motorcycle one time, a friend of mine. I was just watching. I was kind of observing how the clutch works and the shifter. And basically, I jumped on and I just took off. And I started driving this motorbike. I'm self-taught on just about everything I do. I fix my own cars. I've learned to ride motorcycles. Even at one point, I learned to pull some gears at 24 speed. I think it was a Freightliner or a Western Star. I even learned how to drive a semi-truck by myself. Sure, I didn't drive it on the highways, open highways. I had it on a big auction lot, but I started to learn. I loved the idea of the challenge, overcoming that challenge, and enjoying it. And to me, living my best life isn't about that big house over there. My best life is exploring everything that I can possibly see in this life. Because living a life where you're sheltered, hunkered down, to me, it's just tragic. And even my work, my job, I loved it because it was a very unique type of work, very much in the electrical industry, high voltage work. I really loved what I did. I really enjoyed it. I loved the technicality part of it. I loved some of the people I worked with. And I'll tell you, I worked with some crazy, crazy personalities, some really fun people. You know what? I got lots of stories. I got one guy that told me once, I don't know what the truth is or not. He was quite a character. He had a new story for every day of the week. He used to told me he used to run dynamite across the border. And some of the things that he did, he had stories upon stories upon stories. And, I've worked with some really, really interesting, funny, colorful characters that had stories. And that's a big part of, not avoiding that, but embracing that. Because, we all know, we look around and we think, okay, we think about the term privilege. And when some people consider themselves privileged, others not as much, others less, maybe others even more. Privilege is something that sort of baselines you in a certain area in your standing in society. I've never considered myself very privileged, but that said, there's always those that are worse off. So I always consider myself just happy to be where I'm at and living my best life. Now, I think I told the story once. I was, hanging out with my son. We were down on White Ave there in Edmonton, and we were just hanging out. And this guy, young guy, I would say probably homeless. He looked pretty beat up, pretty strung out. And he comes up and he says, hey, buddy, you got some spare change? I just need some extra cash. I got to get down to the Y there so I can get a good night's sleep, have a shower. I said, hey, you know what? I don't have any money, but I have a real sincere, like a curiosity. And I mean this very sincerely. How did you get here? I mean, how did you get here in life? Well, he started into this story about how he was actually a competition swimmer. He was a real athlete in school. He had scholarships in college. And then he just, within a year or 2 years, his life went off the rails. He started mixing in with the wrong people, started in self-medicating, and next thing you know, he's living on the streets, getting beat up and kicked around on the streets, getting caught up in that lifestyle. And he went on to such detail, it was terrifying. A story that I could never imagine. A story that you couldn't even write a script. If you saw the script of this guy's life on the movies, it would make you sick. You'd cry. You'd leave the movie theater. And it's sad. It's truly, truly tragic when I see that kind of thing go on. But see, to me, he was living his life at that time. And it gave me a perspective of where I feel I stand. You know, some of the choices I've made, and some choices I've made some good ones and some not such good ones. But it's like I say, you know, I truly believe you've got to live a life where there's no regret. Sure, there's things that you can always change. You wish, okay, you can learn from mistakes, but you know, everything we do is a culmination of, you know, our life. That's what makes us, that's the makeup and who we are. And so my perspective on life and how I transitioned into the workplace, and then of course just living my best life, ultimately retiring early, and the formal, not formal so much as very deliberate, intentional decision not to go back into the corporate world was because I want to live my best life. Is my best life wrapped up sitting in front of a computer screen? No. And every story, every personality that I touch, like this homeless guy, added something, tweaked, changed something in my mind that told me that, wait a minute, there's more to life than this corporate game. There's more to life than, we all have to work. But it's really more about the focus on doing the things, spending the time with the people, and doing the activities that you enjoy doing. Now, if you want to work, start your own little business, that's awesome. But getting cooped up, I literally feel like I was in a cage. And every single day, it just felt like it was sapping my soul out of me. So to have chats and have a discussion with this homeless guy and numerous people along my way have all added up to make me a product of my environment. Allows me to make decisions based on my experiences and my observations. And in doing so, it's a rejuvenation about my efforts to improve on my life and those things that I hold dearly and passionate. I love spending time with, you know, my spouse, my wife, my kids. I love spending time with them. And I could not imagine being tied up in another garbage meeting or being sent out of town on some committee meeting and missing out on a birthday party, missing out on some of the side hustle things that I've been doing, missing out on some chats with some good friends, missing out on life. And to me, living your best life is really about doing the things that motivate you, that drive you. Thinking of the things that constantly, like those little moments, those little flashes in your mind that, you know, those little things of passion, the car, the motorbike, the pedal bike, skateboarding, maybe you want to take up on that. Whatever that is, these little things that kind of go through your mind from time to time, the worst thing you can do is to ignore them. Because in my opinion, when there's little things, like maybe something goes through your mind about some idea or some new idea or maybe some new skill or new sport or new game or something, right? That just all of a sudden tweaks you. Okay, you could have seen it on TV on an advertisement, sure, but ignoring those, I think, truly believe, is ignoring some of your passions. Because a lot of those things go through your mind because, yeah, you flash it, you saw it on a TV somewhere. But a lot of it, too, is your mind thinking about things that matter to you. So as soon as you do that, as soon as I do that, that's my trigger. Let's go check that out. You know, maybe I want to go car shopping. I just love kicking tires, even if I'm not buying. I love cars. That's just who I am. That's what I like doing. So my strategy of YOLO and you only live once really is a big part of my success, my own personal success. Because I truly do believe we only have one kick at this. And so to me, success is being in an environment that have people around me that enable me to lift me up instead of putting me down. And being in a company where you have a boss that's telling you you didn't do good enough here. You need to improve on these metrics. You need to improve on this fact. You had a miss on that. I don't need all these reasons to tell me why I'm inadequate. Rather, I'd rather be near people that are saying, great effort, Mark. Hey, I like that new item that you just picked up. Mark, that's awesome. Hey, I like your new haircut. Whatever. People that build you up, we don't need people that put you down. And working in that environment is all about putting people down. So why do I want to sit in an environment like that? See, to me, success is just being around people that pick you up, put you to a better place, put you on a pedestal, so to speak. I don't need to be around people that don't do that. And so to me, success represents daily opportunities to explore, witness new things, try new things, be around people that actually matter. And not these narcissistic wannabes with big heads that feel that they're important in their little world and their tiny little sphere of influence in these social organizations. When I look and I see this constantly, I get these constant emails because back in the day when I was part of, LinkedIn and, part of these companies and these businesses, they all almost pretty much push you into these social networks. They want to be part of that. They have their own internal social media programs too in some cases. And they want you to be fully engaged. They want you to interact with that. Of course they do. Of course they do. But the more I see these reminders, LinkedIn and all these others that keep popping up, these professional social media platforms, while they are great for people looking for work, 100%. To me, it's just more though of a reminder of a life I'd rather leave me behind. See, because it's a life that was very much trapping me. And yeah, sure, I know. I paid for the house with a lot of this, and you know what? We did a lot of vacations, and I do, again, I don't regret any of it, and I do truly see it as a means to an end. It really was. Working was a means to an end. But to me, that was part of the journey, my navigation, until I get to where I need to be, and that's breaking out into the life that I actually like. You only live once. And to me, success is living your best life and not living life that others within the organization are telling you need to live, say the things you need to say, and unfortunately be told constantly with reminders about how your performance is inadequate, about how you're not doing a good enough job. Rather, that bird's not telling me I'm not doing a good enough job. I don't really care. Life is great. Life is grand. And for those who like to thrive in that environment, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I really am. And I don't begrudge anybody because I've been there, I lived it, I get it. But I have had an aha moment. And that was about 5 or 6 years ago. And honestly, what really kicked it off was when my dad passed away in 21, just before he did. Few years shortly before that, actually, realistically, but when he actually passed, it was a final nail for me. But him and I, when he could talk, we had those conversations. And he did remind me of the reasons I am the way I am today. And that's spending time with the people that matter. And him and I out on the golf course, having those father and son talks every single Sunday and some Saturday mornings, when the dew was still fresh on the greens. And they told us, hey, you got to wait for 5 more minutes because we were always the first tee time on an early Sunday morning at a 6:45 or a 7:15 tee off in August. That was us. But those moments to me were that's where I was truly in my space, living my best life. And in those moments, I could not think of a better place that I'd rather be hanging out with my dad, swinging, duffing my first drive off the first tee, watching it roll 120 yards, calling it a dink out, and next thing you know, having to pick up the ball, drop another one on the tee, and take another shot. Because the old man told me, hey, Mark, don't worry about it. It's a mulligan. There's nobody right behind us. Just drop another one. Those were my best, honestly. That's about living your best life, doing what makes you tick. And to me, that's truly the measure of success.